How did you become a knight?
I paid for it. When Malashov was vacated, I bought that fortress. Well, first I negotiated with King Charles for permission. Then it was entered into the land register as my property, and my house became the Knights of Malashov. There were still some legal requirements surrounding it, but I won't bore you with those. But personally, I'm pleased that in the history of our house, it was me who managed to elevate it to the nobility.
You can simply buy a title? Just like that?
Definitely not just like that. But in a certain manner of speaking, you can, yes. It's not at all such an unusual practice among rich burghers nowadays. In Prague, for example, there used to be the Rokitsan burgher family, and they bought Okorsh. That's a castle 3 times bigger than Malashov. It may also happen that some commoner lends the king a lot of money, and the king doesn't have the coin to pay back the debt. So he resolves it by pledging one of his castles. Nevertheless, the old nobility, such as Vavak von Hradec, don't like it, and they despise us for it. They see us as upstarts without a proper ancient origin. But I think in a few generations, if I ever marry Rosa off, that is, it won't make any difference anymore. We'll be established among the nobility, and all these injustices will be a thing of the past. I pray that my house will endure, and that my descendants will live to see it.
Well, enjoy your well-deserved spurs. May your house endure and prosper. What's the political situation in the city? I mean, the politics of support for our side.
All in all, miserable. Bailiff Plymel is also on Sigismund's side, as is his son, who's so corrupt even Vava could envy him. And I tested the waters among the councillors, but it doesn't look good for us at the moment.
Who sits on the city council?
Wenceslaus Forsucher, Jerome Naz, Franz Rosenthal, and Andrew Polner. They're from the old and rich burgher families, just like us. Martin tried to negotiate some support from them, but, as you may have heard, we didn't manage to win anyone over. They either have their interests connected with Sigismund, like Naz and the others, or they just don't want to commit themselves, so they don't lose their property and status. That's the only thing you can count on them for.
But they don't sit alone on the council. What about the others?
They don't. Then there are the representatives of the guilds, but to be honest, they don't have that much power, at least not for now. Compared to the old houses, the guild masters only quite recently acquired their positions on the council, so they probably won't risk losing them. But you're right that we might find support among them, especially by promising more council seats. The thing is, we're not yet in a position to fulfill such a promise, and they're well aware of that.
And what about Vavak? He sits on the council, and we've got him in our pocket, right?
He does, along with other representatives of the Italian court, and they'll do what he tells them. Except maybe Friedrich Kummel, but that doesn't matter. Vavak is a slimy bastard who'll sink us as soon as he gets the chance. So I'd like to count on him only when absolutely necessary, because as soon as he learns something he could exchange for a pardon from Sigismund for the crimes you've uncovered, he'll use it to untie his hands.
Thank you for filling me in on the local situation.
Well, there wasn't much positive in it. But you're welcome.
And what about the church? Couldn't it be turned around? You can see Sedlet's monastery from the city. The abbot must have some influence, doesn't he?
He does. And his relationship with the city is not the best. First of all, the abbot is burning through his property. The monastery's having financial difficulties, and all it can do is sell off its village properties. And who do you think is buying them up? The Kuttenberg burghers, first and foremost. Then there's a long-standing dispute over the manning of some churches, which goes back as far as I can remember.
Well, then how about promising the abbot support and getting him on our side? Promises cost nothing, right?
Ha ha! I see you're no newcomer to politics. But we hesitated with the abbot, and he decided to throw in his lot with Sigismund. In fact, he's given him accommodation and is wining and dining him.
You're right, Sir Kinsman. It's a pity.
It is. I even wanted to donate them part of my library collection, which they've envied for years, but they can forget about that now.
I'm glad we took care of Vavat without resorting to weapons. They outnumbered us, and they had heavy armor. I'm not really sure we could have held out against them.
If the worst came to the worst, we'd have had to try. We couldn't have backed out. There was too much at stake. But otherwise, I agree with you. We saved the lives of my soldiers, and maybe even our own. Thank goodness for that. After all, I've already fought my hardest battle, and don't need any more like that.
If I may be so bold, can I ask what the hardest battle you mentioned was?
Not long ago, when Sigismund's army besieged Kuttenberg. Back then, I saw things differently than I do today. I'd been advocating parleying instead of armed resistance. I feared, and rightly so, that Sigismund would use it as an excuse to seize property. But I was in the minority, and even my son Venser was convinced of the opposite. We quarreled a lot over that. In the end, he told me that even though I had acquired noble status, my days of glory had faded. He wanted to prove the Knights of Malashov didn't wear spurs just for show, and that we'd earned the armored arm in our crest. When an opportunity arose to strike against the enemy, he rode out, despite me forbidding it. Or maybe because of it.
I understand where this is going. I'll pray for your son's soul, and I won't reopen your wounds anymore.
Thank you. God be with you.